Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day today. So, anyways, when it comes down to the overall, I thought that I would talk about this press conference that I seen yesterday. And of course, today is Thursday. I believe it is October, 7th. Of course, this fight happens October 9th, I believe, this Saturday. So, a couple days away now. But when it comes down to the overall, I thought that I would talk about the press conference because I find the press conference very, very interesting. Now, of course, depending on who you're a fan of overall, or when it comes down to who you're cheering for in this fight, there's gonna be mixed reviews overall about the press conference and what they think they saw, and of course, the Deontay Wilder fan base are going to allege that they think that Deontay Wilder, they think that he got to Tyson Fury, and the Tyson Fury fan base are going to allege that he think that, or they think overall that he got to Deontay Wilder. I like to put a logical and objective spin on things, and I like to think of myself as a decently logical and objective person, and I'm going to tell you personally what I saw yesterday in that press conference. And certain people may disagree, but it is what it is. Anyways, when it comes down to the overall, first of all, I also want to talk about that one reporter, Kate, or whatever her name is. A lot of people, of course, criticized her yesterday because they thought that she did a very, very poor job. I think that she tried her best. I just don't know if she's really meant for interviewing fighters completely, at least in a press conference or a fight of this level. I think that they maybe needed someone else like that. And also, she obviously was not told, at least by Bob Arum, that there was going to be no face-off. And Bob Arum was very right to do that because you don't want the fighters ending up like Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant to where someone gets scratched or cut or hurt or whatever and the fight possibly can get canceled. You don't want that to happen. So it is what it is. But when it comes down to the overall, just to talk about the press conference, what did I personally see yesterday? Certain people, they may talk about Tyson Fury allegedly having nervous energy. Certain people may think that Tyson Fury got to Deontay Wilder. What did I personally see in this press conference? I personally thought that Tyson Fury got to Deontay Wilder. And of course, a certain amount of people are going to disagree with me. I'm not a person overall that, once again, likes to pick sides, or, get into my emotions when it comes down, at least when it comes to picking logically and objectively. But I've already said this a couple times in a couple videos. I don't truly believe that Deontay Wilder thinks that he got cheated. Certain people have been trying to allege, like Paulie Malignaggi, and even this one channel that I tend to like a whole lot, the Hatman Strikes Back, he says, well, does Deontay Wilder truly believe it? And he seems really not to know. I'm telling you this right now. I don't think Deontay Wilder truly believes that he got cheated. And I think that there's a multitude of things that prove that. Because if you truly believe that you got cheated, first of all, why would you still have JD's in your corner when it comes down to it? And Tyson Fury asked him that straight up yesterday, and Deontay Wilder did not have an answer to that. He never could answer that question because he doesn't truly know either when it comes down to it. Because I don't think Deontay Wilder, once again, I don't think that he truly believes that he got cheated. And Tyson Fury, he asked him a multitude of questions, some very good questions, in my opinion, some of the questions that I've been asking for the past several months to the Deontay Wilder fan base that believes that Tyson Fury allegedly cheated in the way that he did. And when it comes down to it, none of them basically have came up with an answer to this, or if they have come up with an answer to it, it usually hasn't made a whole lot of sense. And the question that Tyson Fury asked him, he said, what measures have you taken to make sure that I don't cheat again in this fight? Now, some people may say, well, maybe they're keeping it hidden. But Malik Scott and Deontay Wilder, they've already kind of told the public that JD's, that he's going to be watching the gloves once again. Once again, if you truly believe that you got cheated because he put an egg weight in his glove, or overall he messed with the padding, and JD's did not check the gloves, he did not check the hand wraps, JD's would have had to been on Tyson Fury's payroll, excuse me, which is exactly what Tyson Fury mentioned. And on top of that, when it comes down to it, JD's would have basically been in on it, not just Mark Breland, So when it comes down to it, I think Deontay Wilder, I think that he's very focused for this fight. I think that he's had to seclude himself from the media, and I think all in all that he does not want to deal with them. I think that he doesn't really want to deal with any outsiders, that he just wants to deal with his friends, and he just wants to deal with his people overall, on the inside. And on top of that, a whole bunch of yes men from these, LDBC and new media channels. But it is what it is, because I don't think Deontay Wilder, once again, I don't think he believes that he got cheated, and I think Tyson Fury got a little bit in his head yesterday. Some people, once again, they may say that Tyson Fury, that he had nervous energy yesterday. I don't necessarily think so. I mean, is it possible? Who knows? But, excuse me, Tyson Fury, to me, he's just always been a character. He's always been a person that is going to have a lot of energy. And of course, a lot of people in the Vladimir Klitschko fight or in the first Deontay Wilder press conference or in the second one, people were alleging a lot of the same things. They used to allege a lot of the same things about Muhammad Ali as well, with some of these trash talkers that they're showing a lot of nervous energy. I think when someone shows nervous energy, excuse me, my bad. Oh, sorry about the cough. But anyways, when it comes down to it, I think when someone starts showing nervous energy, or how you can tell when they're showing nervous energy, is when their character completely changes. And I think that's kind of the same thing that Andre Ward was saying about Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder is usually a very outspoken character. And now all of a sudden he's pretty much shut himself off from the world. And I don't think that that's always necessarily a bad thing. I think sometimes in order to accomplish big things in life or to become laser focused, you need to seclude yourself from certain things, especially social media and maybe big parts of the media. That way maybe it does not toxic up your mind or cloud your mind. But that tells me that Deontay Wilder, that also tells me that I think that he believes that he did not get cheated. And certain things that Deontay Wilder also said kind of interest me. He said, I can't wait for this fight. This is going to be really one of the great fights and one of the great trilogies in history. I believe he said something along those lines. Why would you say something like that if you truly believe that you got cheated the way that you did? Why wouldn't you be on stage and basically say, Tyson Fury overall, this really even shouldn't be a trilogy, that I should have knocked him out in the rematch because Tyson Fury, he knows that he damn well cheated in that rematch and he would have never beat me. Deontay Wilder, one thing I noticed is that he never usually brought up the cheating allegations unless Kate brought them up or unless someone else brought them up. He never would bring them up. And me, just from experience, personally, when it comes down to it, usually if someone believes that they got cheated, they're going to bring it up overall without, even someone else bringing it up to them, like Miguel Cotto, when he believed that he got cheated against Antonio Margarito. He brought it up repeatedly. When it came down to it, he brought it up repeatedly. And he was not afraid to go man-to-man, face-to-face with him, with that HBO face-off, I believe, with Max Kellerman, and allege overall that he got cheated. And then Miguel Cotto fought him. Sure, he made some adjustments. So Deontay Wilder, he's making a whole lot of adjustments. That's a little bit understandable, even if maybe he didn't get cheated, or even if he did get cheated. But when it comes down to the overall, Deontay Wilder seems to be making a whole lot of adjustments for someone overall that, ended up getting cheated. I think Deontay Wilder knows deep down that this is going to take basically every ounce of strength, mentally and physically, that he has in order to beat Tyson Fury. And that's why I said overall that this is really, 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 really going to be the biggest test possibly overall in Deontay Wilder's career. Certainly, this is also going to be a very big test in his life. Because Deontay Wilder, in my opinion, he's at that point in time right now to where I think he's eating the Kool-Aid, or he wants to, but I don't think he truly knows overall where he is. And what I mean by that overall is that I don't think Deontay Wilder, I think he's kind of lost with the character that he's at right now. I think he's had to build up this character, this pro-black character when it comes down to it, that the LDBC and new media, that they pretty much ate up when it comes down to it. And, Deontay Wilder, he feels like he has to live up to this character and basically impress all these people. And he's basically let all these people speak for him. And that shows me that Deontay Wilder, that he's somewhat weak mentally. And a certain amount of people overall, they may disagree, but it is what it is. That's what that tells me about Deontay Wilder, because the strongest of people, they take basically accountability. All right? It is what it is. They take accountability. And I don't think Deontay Wilder, I don't think he wants to take accountability. But when it comes down to it, I think deep down that Deontay Wilder, he knows, he has some sense of realism. And Deontay Wilder, he's very deluded to a degree, or was. But I think that ass whooping in the second fight made him realize, if I do not make a whole lot of adjustments against this guy, I'm not going to win this fight. And I think Deontay Wilder, he's very laser focused. But I think when it comes down to it, that tells me that there are some doubts in his mind overall to where he says, can I actually win this fight? And I think a certain amount of people may disagree with me on that. But Deontay Wilder is having doubts. If they're not coming out on the forefront in the media, when it comes down to it, they are creeping in the back of his mind. I have no doubt about that in my mind whatsoever. No doubt about that in my mind whatsoever. And that's pretty much what I thought on the press conference, because every time Tyson Fury would ask him a legitimate question about how are you going to change, the way that I don't cheat this time, or all in all, why did you not fire JD's? Deontay Wilder can never answer it. He can never come up with a good answer because I don't think that he knows. He does not have a good answer to that. He basically fired Mark Breland because he used that bullshit excuse that Mark Breland poisoned his water. He basically let the LDBC and new media and his dumbass fan base talked for him. And basically he had to go along with it because once again, Deontay Wilder is trying to live up to a caricature when it comes down to it. All right? And it has now changed his character, in my opinion. All right? So it is what it is. Deontay Wilder, when it comes down to it, I'm not saying that he can't win this fight, but what I am saying is this. He knows that this is going to be a very big mountain to climb. He knows that this is going to be a very, 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 very big mountain to climb. That's what I truly believe on this fight. But we'll see what happens. It'll be very, very interesting. I'm very excited for this fight. We'll have to see what happens because I am excited to see what type of adjustments Deontay Wilder has made. You never know overall what can happen. Deontay Wilder, he is very powerful. He can turn the lights off with just one solid punch if he lands right. And for those certain people overall in Tyson Fury's corner that may say, oh, well, Tyson Fury, he got up from Deontay Wilder's punches before and, excuse me, he took flush punches in the rematch and he didn't even go down. Well, Tyson Fury never really took any flush punches from Deontay Wilder in the rematch. He pretty much rolled with them or he was able to escape them. But when it comes down to the overall, Deontay Wilder, he is going to have to be very careful in this fight. Tyson Fury, of course, is going to have to be very careful as well. Let me also bring up one other thing. Because this is probably going to be the last video. And I know I keep saying that, but this probably is going to be the last video because the press conference I thought was interesting. But when it comes down to the overall, some people are basically saying, well, what do you think Tyson Fury is going to be? What do you think he's going to weigh at? And overall, do you think he gained too much weight? These guys overall, they allege that Tyson Fury hasn't been training, but then at the same time, they allege that he gets knocked out by his sparring partners, which I find is so interesting. But, it is what it is with that. He gets battered to bits, in training. And Tyson Fury, he even said that, his sparring partners gave him a rough time. And I believe that he's telling the truth. I think that he is telling the truth. But that doesn't always mean that, that you're in bad conditioning. Sometimes actually getting your ass whooped in sparring is just what you need. I mean, not to the degree to where it's going to harm you for the fight, but to where it gives you a real deal challenge. And that tells me that Tyson Fury, that he's taking this fight very, very seriously. I think Deontay Wilder's taking this fight very, very seriously as well. But I think Tyson Fury is in a better state of mind. And a certain amount of people may disagree. But I need to see how Deontay Wilder, how he's going to face his demons, because that's why I say that this is such a big challenge for Deontay Wilder in life, because I don't know if he's ever had to face his own self-demons before the way that he is going to have to face them on this fight. He is going to have to address a certain amount of the demons in that ring come this Saturday night. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, Tyson Fury, all in all, it looks like he actually is maybe going to come at about a good solid 290. I don't think overall that that's necessarily bad. Some people may say, well, do you think that's going to tire him out? Do you think that that's a little bit too big? I don't necessarily think that that's a big deal because Tyson Fury is a person overall to where Tyson Fury could probably be about 300 pounds, and I think overall that he could carry that weight decently well. That doesn't mean that I think that it would be necessarily a good thing for him to get the 300 pounds, but unless Tyson Fury were maybe in the 310 range or, anything over 300, I wouldn't necessarily worry. Tyson Fury is a 6'9" dude. He's a guy overall that always has a very, very good gas tank when it comes down to it. I believe that he has been sparring, although I believe that he's been keeping a lot of that hid, and that's the smart thing to do when it comes down to it. Deontay Wilder, he showed some things, but he's also kept a certain amount of his things hid as well, which I think is also a very intelligent thing to do. But, excuse me, when it comes down to it overall, I think it'll be very, very interesting. I think both of these fighters are taking it very seriously, but I think Tyson Fury, man, I just think that he has Deontay Wilder's number. I'm not saying that Deontay Wilder, that he's not going to try to make adjustments, but that remains to be seen overall how well that's going to work out for Deontay, because certain fighters in certain matchups, they try to make adjustments against certain fighters, and sometimes they'll even end up worse than what they were before, at least against that fighter. So we'll see what happens. It'll be very, very interesting. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you all later. We'll see what this fight, we'll see what happens in this fight. I'm very, very excited for this fight. I think that it's a great fight. We'll see what happens. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you all later.